Hi, my name is Terry. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here and you like what you see, make sure that you like and subscribe so you can see what other randomness I might post. Don't mind the mess behind me because if you've seen any of my other videos, then you know that it doesn't actually end around here. There's not really a clean area, so hopefully you won't be able to see it too much. So today I just wanted to share my story about how I was able to successfully nurse my first baby despite all the difficulties that I had. With times being so uncertain and the formula shortage, I really just can't even fathom why anyone would choose not to try to nurse, being that it's free and it's readily available always. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that it's not possible for all women. I know that there are so many different scenarios where women can't or they don't produce enough. I'm all too aware of the struggles and how unexpectedly difficult it can be to nurse your baby long term. So I thought this would be a good time to share my story. So if you've watched my other videos, then you know that I have 4 kids. And I nursed all 4 of them, and I didn't have them all back to back, so I have spent 8 years of my life nursing. One might think that I love it, but in reality it's more of an ambivalent relationship that I have with it. You really have to be passionate about why you want to nurse your babies, because what no one tells you is that, honestly, it is the hardest thing that you will ever do as a mother, but it is beyond rewarding. However, my nursing days are almost over. It is going to be bittersweet, though I'm full of excitement right now. I am so done, but I know that I'm going to miss it. The bond, the closeness, the being needed, being able to immediately comfort your baby, and being forced to sit down and take a few minutes to really bond with your baby and get away from all the distractions. There really aren't enough words to describe how gratifying it actually is. That being said, it is by far the hardest thing for a new mommy to stick to. There are some very lucky mommies out there who get that very first baby who just latches right on and they have no problem. They have no trouble eating when they need to, and their milk supply seems endless. I have a feeling those mommies are few and far between and inadvertently make the rest of us mommies feel guilt for not loving it. What I wish that someone told me, and what I try to tell other new moms when they ask me for advice, is that breastfeeding is the absolute hardest thing that you will do. And those first 2 months are beyond difficult. It's incredibly stressful. It's emotionally taxing. It's time consuming, and it's very painful at times. But what I try to get new mommies to remember is that after those first 2 months, it doesn't hurt anymore. And you have a rhythm down with your baby, and all the stress kind of disappears. So if you can get yourself past that 8-week mark and really stick with it, you're going to be successful and you'll have no problem nursing as long as you want to. What I hadn't expected was with baby number 2 that those first 2 months would be equally difficult. While the entire experience looked much different than my first, her and I required a solid 2 months of learning each other before we were able to calm down and actually enjoy nursing time. I know how easy it is to want to quit. I've almost been there myself many times. Needless to say, I was not one of those lucky mommies my first time around. I spent my entire pregnancy panicked about the delivery, and it never occurred to me that nursing would be the hard part. I came from a very long line of nursing women, so naturally formula feeding was not even an option, nor did I want it to be. But to my surprise, I had a very finicky baby. While she did latch on relatively quickly, not right away, but quick enough, she always just seemed like she did not want to nurse. I was super panicky because in the beginning when she did want to nurse, she would only nurse on one side. And it was only for like 5 minutes at a time. The doctor kept pushing me to nurse her more, but she just really wasn't interested. After the first week or two, it seemed to get worse. She would cry all the time and just seemed so unsettled, but she still didn't want to nurse. And not being able to calm my baby made me even more stressed, which probably made her not want to nurse even more. Looking back though, I am so grateful for the situation that I was in because I had a solid support system. I had my mom with me, pushing me hard to try absolutely everything more than one time, every time, before quitting. While in the moment, I do remember being slightly annoyed, mostly because it's pretty taxing on a brand new, overtired, emotional mommy who can't seem to calm her own baby. But man, I am so grateful that I had the support that most new moms don't have. I was so determined and set on nursing, and giving up would have crushed me. I'll be honest, I have absolutely no idea how I stumbled on the one thing that finally actually worked long enough to get my baby to relax and calmly nurse in those first few weeks. Somehow, in the height of my panic and chaos, with tears heavily flowing from both of us, after trying what seemed like every tip and trick I had ever read about, I stood up and bounced her for a second. I was so worked up in the moment that I don't even think that I realized that I was bouncing. But then out of nowhere, she calmed down, latched on, and nursed herself to sleep for the first time. So for about 12 times a day for the next 5 weeks, I had to stand up and bounce her enough to calm her down, get her to latch on, and only when my milk actually came down was I able to sneak myself into a sitting position. She was exclusively breastfed for the first 8 months and went on to successfully nurse for 27 months. I went on to have 3 more babies after that, and none of them were quite as demanding or difficult in the very beginning. But I'm so thankful that I was able to experience that and overcome the struggle, because it made me realize that every baby is different and every baby is comforted differently. Each of my babies had their own weird idiosyncrasies when nursing, but having experienced that with my first, I was able to then remain calm enough to actually figure out what would comfort my other babies. I can see how easy it is to give up, especially if you don't have a forceful support system backing you. But if you're determined and it means enough to you, there are so many resources out there to help you be successful. To nurse your baby is a very personal choice. I mean, your breasts are no longer yours, and quite often they're on display when you'd rather they not be. So remember to take everybody's advice, try everything twice, and figure out what works for you and your baby. So best of luck. Thanks for watching. See you next time.